Whenever I met people who seemed to know exactly who they were and what they wanted from life, I always envied their confidence. I often wondered, how were they able to find such clarity in themselves while living in a world full of noise and randomness? Their authenticity was something I deeply craved, and this desire drove me to start peeling away the layers of external influence in order to find out who I truly am. Therefore, I embarked on a year-long journey in Europe to break free from the hustle and grind of my usual surroundings in the US. In the first part of the Gap Year Chronicles, I discussed my experience with quarter-life crisis and why I decided to take a gap year in the middle of my college education. And today, in part 2, I'm going to talk about what I learned about self-discovery and authenticity during this journey. An Australian nurse, Bronnie Ware, who interviewed her patients in the last weeks of their lives, found out that the most common regret people have before dying is, "I wish I'd lived the life true to myself, not the life others wanted for me." Think about that for a moment. Through our environment, we're taught how one should behave, what one should strive for, and through this process, we're accumulating layers of external influence that do not always resonate with our hearts, so we have to remove them. According to Dr. Gabor Mate, even illness can come along when we're not being true to ourselves. And he also claims that habitually suppressing our needs, emotions, and instincts, however small they may seem, makes us more susceptible to chronic disease. It can also influence the trajectory of illness. But it is not easy to shed the layers of your conditioning while being in a familiar environment where you're surrounded by people who have expectations of how you should be, who you should be, and how you should behave. That's why for me personally, moving away from everyone was very healing. And during my gap year, I wandered through the beautiful streets of Munich, hiked picturesque trails of the Swiss Alps, I immersed myself in the rich history of Rome. And as I explored new cultures and new pursuits, I realized that without the weight of other people's expectations, my true self began to emerge. And I was not bound to other people's perception of me. I could meet a new person and construct a completely different identity, a new personality, give them a different name, and no one would know. And I think this freedom of expression and not worrying what others will think is actually key to removing the access that is not suitable to you. Charles Bukowski wrote, "Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be?" And I realized that for most of us, the path to authenticity is not straightforward. You can't just start being yourself because you might not even know who you are. The rain started, so I had to run back to the house with the camera and my computer. So unfortunately, my cookies did not survive. But let's move back to the topic. You can't just start being yourself because you might not even know who you are. And that's why it's very important to start dating yourself, to start getting to know yourself, asking yourself questions, identifying what parts of you feel true. And this process requires a lot of introspection, like shadow work, like therapy, journaling your thoughts every other day. During this year, I was pondering a lot. And I don't want to use the word overthinking because this word brings out too negative of a connotation for me. So pondering it is. I was reflecting on what choices are true to me, what people I want to attract into my life, what activities bring me joy most of all. Embrace your natural inclinations. In the past, I often dismissed my advantages and skills, and I was shrinking myself into places that were not meant for me. And it's honestly crazy how many people obsess over things that are naturally hard for them, and they see their natural gifts as completely unremarkable. But I think a better approach is to notice what comes easily to you, what are your natural gifts, and double down on those strengths instead. To aid in this process, journaling can be incredibly helpful, and here are a few prompts that can get you started. What activities make me lose track of time? What did I enjoy doing as a child? What compliments do I often receive? For me, this gap year, it was about rediscovering my love for storytelling, something that always came easily to me, but I never really considered it seriously. So think about what comes easily to you and something that your peers might have been struggling with, but you are not. When I leaned into my inclinations, life started to flow more easily and progress came not with struggle, but with ease. Being authentic also requires willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. And some uncomfortable emotions that we have are actually signifiers or pointers that we have to listen to. Like envy, for example. We all think of it as such a bad feeling, which we don't like to admit we have, but it is the most illuminating emotion when it comes to understanding your true desires. For example, you might envy someone for starting the YouTube channel because it might have been your dream all along, but you have some sort of internal fears that you are not worthy of doing that. We feel envious of someone else when they have something that we wish we had, but we don't deem ourselves worthy of having that, or we don't think it's possible for us to have that. Or we might feel envious because someone acts in a way that we wish we acted, but we don't allow ourselves to act that way because of some perceived fears. Envy is basically the denial of your own potential. This uncomfortable feeling was only signifying to me that I had to listen to myself and to not deny myself that power. Therefore, envy highlights all of our hidden dreams. And once you allow your potential to flourish, envy transforms into inspiration. And it turns into inspiration and when you're finally allowing yourself to act and be as your authentic self. This year was about exploration, both within Europe and within my mental space. And I've met so many different people. I've seen so many different ways to live life. So I feel like I've built more agency. Because I know myself so much better now, I have a much more clear idea of what I want to do, and I feel more control of my future. Today, I shared with you my personal reflection on my process of self-discovery. And as you might know, I am very early in my 20s and I'm still figuring things out and exploring different paths. And I hope that sharing my journey with you will help you stop trying to fit into molds that other people have made for you. And it will make you unafraid of authentically showing up in the world. Thank you very much for watching. Do not forget to like this video and follow me for more. Thank you so much.